Everybody, what's going on? It's me, John D. Villarreal. We're getting ready for another show here in a couple minutes. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a couple special guests. We're going to be joined by, we're going to talk about Miami Tech. We're going to talk about the GOP debate. We're going to talk about all kinds of good things. So just hold on.
5 times.
Clearwater.
Okay, we should be about a minute out here. If you're watching this later, just fast forward for about a minute. We'll be getting this show going.
New Newstalk 10.
Auto and motor.
Okay, very close now. Like I said, we're going to be talking about, well, we'll talk about the weather. There's a lot of stuff going on. Hold on.
Reflect the views and opinions of Genesis Communications, its management, staff, or advertisers. Welcome to the John Villarreal Show. Now, here's John.
Hey everybody, what's going on? It's me, John D. Villarreal, right here on Newstalk 1040 AM and live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Lot to talk about the greater Tampa Bay area here, everywhere from Sarasota, Wesley Chapel. We've got everything going on. Tampa Bay, Lakeland, Brandon, Plant City. It doesn't matter where you are. St. Petersburg, Clearwater. We're talking about all the issues that you want to talk about. This show right now, I guess we have to talk about the weather. We've got a hurricane coming on. Well, it's a tropical storm now, but it's supposed to be a hurricane, so we'll talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about Miami Tech. We had a GOP debate, a big GOP debate. Oh, my goodness. And that was very, very interesting. I had a reaction video to that, and it really went down the way we talked about. And everyone like afterwards, oh, DeSantis did great, and Nikki Haley, and did you see what Chris Christie said to Vivek and all this stuff, and what about Mike Pence, Vice President Pence? And I'm like, look, dude, first of all, nothing really changed. So therefore Trump won. Trump was on Tucker. That got huge amounts of views. There's some debate about, the real debate about it, in some ways, is how many views did Tucker's interview with President Trump really get. We'll get into that. We'll be joined by Paul at Villarreal soon. We're coming up right now in very, very shortly here. We're going to be talking about Miami Tech with Umar Khan, who's awesome. We'll talk about that here in a second. But I said, listen, Vivek won that debate. That was kind of the, as Megyn Kelly was saying, the JV team or something. And, I think that Vivek really, everyone went after Vivek. He was really shining. And it really was in stark contrast. It really showed you right there. And I do think that I should have written all this down. I thought about what Governor DeSantis can do right now to really change the game. But I really said that, it's time. In some ways, things are going better. In other ways, it was kind of like, I can see Governor DeSantis sort of taking a little bit of control of the campaign, but there's a lot more that needs to be done there. I think Mike Pence looked just terrible, just terrible. It's almost like, what do I want to say here? I'm not trying to say something just to be entertaining, but I want to be careful how I say it. But it's like I was telling my little brother, and listen, I don't know how else to say it, but it really is so clear to me that Mike Pence is how about, let me rephrase that. It feels to me, in my opinion, that Mike Pence is just putting on such an affectation. It's almost like he's just, it feels like a role, like are you trying out for a D-level movie, a Western or something like that, direct to DVD? I mean, are you trying to be an extra in Bonanza or something? Like, it's so bad. It's almost like his little ad with the gas station. It's like, oh, let me tell you, I've got my pickup truck here, Mr. Mike Pence, person of the people, and but super serious. Oh my gosh, foreign policy credentials. It's like, bro, who goes to a gas station with a lavalier mic on? Who puts the nozzle in there and doesn't even fill up the tank? Like, is this take number 20? Like, it's so, Mike Pence campaign just seems so fake to me. It's not even funny. And I'm not trying to be a punk, but like, and Megyn Kelly's like, I think he's filling a role of being cathartic for, I don't know. We'll get into all that. We'll talk to Paul about that. But I mean, you could see there's a lot to talk about. Bottom line for me is Tucker and Trump did amazing. Vivek's doing amazing. There are some other people that did well as well. And listen, I kind of agree with what Megyn Kelly said and her guest, like, what happened to Senator Scott? So we'll get into all that. So we need to talk about that. Steve Harvey, oh my goodness, I've been talking about relationships. I've been talking about marriages, and it looks like Steve Harvey, reports are that there may be a divorce coming. I mean, we may get into that. There's a lot of other stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about the creator economy in the 5 o'clock hour and how everything's going, what's going on with that. We're talking business here on LinkedIn. So much to talk about. But right now, let's bring in Umar Khan here. Let's talk about business. Let's talk about technology. Let's talk about Miami Tech. I'm joined by Umar Khan here, and this guy has been a lifelong 305 person down in Miami. His family has businesses. He can tell that story if he wants to. I don't want to put him on blast here. But someone that's very experienced, that knows a lot of the people involved here, basically rode the train, says, hey, I want to be, used to be in real estate, says, I want to be involved in Miami Tech. I want to learn it. I'm excited about all this. I'm jumping on the train. Umar, come on in here. Tell us, what is your experience? I've said a lot. I've been very positive and I've been critical. I've had my critiques on ways to improve with Miami Tech and the people surrounding it. But why don't you introduce yourself to the Newstalk 1040 audience here and tell us about where you're at and kind of your take on Miami Tech.
Hey, John, how are you? First of all, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Is my audio okay?
Your audio's okay. Go ahead, roll with it. Pleasure to have you. Thanks for being on the show.
Okay, great. Yeah, so, I appreciate the intro, but just to add on to that, so we're talking Miami Tech, right? And
yeah,
like you mentioned, I was born in Jackson Memorial Hospital in Miami, and I've lived there my whole life. My family was in the gas station business, commercial real estate, in Dade and Broward both. And the reason why I feel like I'm qualified to comment on this is because first of all, I grew up here. I was born here. I did my undergrad at FIU. I did my master's at Nova in Davie, and I did some boot camps at University of Miami. And like you mentioned, I was inspired by the tweet, right?
Right.
The Suarez tweet. How can I help? I saw it happening. I was trading a lot of tech, a lot of crypto, and I was like, I want to go further beyond. There's this hotbed developing in my backyard, apparently, and why not get involved? So, first order of business was to go out and learn it, which is what I did, and then I was fortunate enough to get hired by a technology company that's sort of a branch of an audit firm, and I presently work on Bitcoin mining companies and performing some procedures there. But not to get too much into detail of that, I've gone to all the meetups, I've gone to all the conferences, and you and I have had a lot of conversations about this off the record, and
yes,
about some of the how much of it is hype. In the beginning, the hype is natural, right? Like, this is new. A lot of people did come. A lot of hedge funds, a lot of big finance firms, a lot of tech companies. They did come, yeah. But it's been about how long? 2 years now, and
sure,
it seems to be more hype focused and pumping this and pumping that and cheerleading this and cheerleading that. But how real are the results? And this is something that we usually talk about a lot, right?
Right.
And,
Can I say this? Now, let me jump in for 1 second. And it is this.
Yeah,
I just real quick, just to set a little bit up, just so the audience follows with us right here, is that what you're saying is very, very, very valuable. So I'm someone that you could see we kind of saw each other online, LinkedIn or something like that. You knew some of the people that I knew, and in fact, some of my very close, associates, former business partner, like Professor Jim Liu, I was his TA, everything like that, from Johns Hopkins, very, very connected guy, very smart guy. And I'm sure, like, at a distance, you're like, hey, who's this guy? Meaning me. And finally we talked. And the hype was heavy. And you could see me. I was trying to like work, talk to the Venture Miami team and talk to Safe Ishoff and talk to Dr. Wensveen there at the Levon Center for Innovation, Nova Southeastern, trying to, the South Florida Tech Hub, trying to get connected to, Pareto team and all these different groups and trying to get something going. Hey, listen, here's my background. Former Wilson Sonsini, Gertrude Rosati, working for Mario Rosati, Berkeley Law School, Berkeley undergrad, MBA with honors from Hopkins, Master Communication, super genius, all this different stuff. Been in a venture fund with the former CEO of Apple. I mean, the long resume that I have. I don't want to take too much time with that, but the viewers know. And if you don't know, just check out my LinkedIn. And that's not. I mean, there's plenty more. But the point is here's someone that has seen it up close and personal, that has done it in Silicon Valley, that then went to Utah, Austin, Seattle, Washington, D.C., brought it with America's Venture Capital to Washington, D.C., did an insane conference there, just super. And again, I'm not saying that I need to lead the parade, but I could have been part of the mix to help make it real. And instead of getting that help and that door in and how can I help, it was more, and we talked about this, and I think you coined the term, it was more of what do you bring? And the conversation of, well, how much money? What's your fund size? What's this? And I went to the job fair and stuff like that, and it just seemed to me that it was just a very small clique, a very small group of folks. They all went to the same parties. They sat on multiple, some of them sat on multiple, I'm running for this, but I'm on this board, I'm doing this, I'm wearing 3-5 different hats, whatever. Look, we had a mayor that's a part-time, I wasn't a Miami resident, part-time mayor, still had another job and other things going on. And again, I'm not punking anybody out, but instead of trying to talk to someone like me who has the connections with academia, who has the connections with these huge schools and the VCs and the tech and all this type of stuff, it was kind of like it was talk to the hand, right? And it was very bizarre. People wanted my information. They wanted my, what are you doing? What are you up to? Tell me what you want to do. Hey, write it in an email. It was always the same thing. Hey, write it all down in an email, John. Send it. I sent it. Then it was Ghost City, but then all these ideas that I had, it just sort of started popping up. And I'll say this last thing. And so then it was like you and I, connected, and I'm sure, I don't know what I seem like from the outside. Maybe it's like, oh, this guy's, big talk, whatever. But the more you got to know me, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. You'll say whatever you want to say here. You found out that I was totally real. And I knew what was going on, and then I would make these videos, and I would make these predictions, and lo and behold, almost all of it came true. Go ahead, launch from there.
Yeah, John, you're absolutely right, and I mean, for the sake of just being transparent and direct, let's just call a spade a spade. It seems fake, right? Everything seems fake, and it's funny you mentioned that because I've been doing some advisory work for an AI startup out there in California. Awesome. It's called Jada AI. Shout out to Diego Torres and everyone there. And here I am with this emerging opportunity. And if stuff was actually real here, I could have probably opened an office here for a promising AI startup. But instead, we just raised $25 million of the private equity firm in California. Why? Because people don't go to Miami to raise $25 million for AI. They go to California. They go to Boston. They go to New York. They go to Austin. Places that actually, built these real things where people are doing real work, it seems like. The calls are never in Miami. And it kind of hurts me to say that because, I'm from here, obviously, but I just don't see that output. You can go on Indeed.com right now and search the best tech cities in 2023. Miami's not even on the list for jobs. So here you are, you're pumping this narrative. You're bringing, the Icon and the Silicon Valley Bank, that didn't age well, and whoever else here, and you're putting it all over the place, and everyone's cheerleading, and, Miami's, another big company, but, at the end of the day, the only thing that happened was housing is unaffordable now, and the job market doesn't match it. Go check Indeed. Miami's not on the list.
And how many people?
Our rents are approaching Bay Area, New York levels, but the jobs aren't necessarily there. I got lucky. I was at the right place at the right time, and I'm very fortunate for that. But the reality is, I don't know anyone who got hired at Icon or what else are they
Citadel.
bragging about now? The Citadel. Those guys, they just came over here for lower taxes. They didn't necessarily come here to make Miami the next tech hub. That's the job of the people who are out there controlling things, and elected officials to actually make that a reality. And I'm just wondering, at what point do you stop this hype? Do you stop this cheerleading, and do you actually start building here? Because I tell you what, I'd love to open an office for one of the startups that I'm advising for, and it's more than one here in my hometown. But right now, for what? That's the way I see it.
Well, let me say this real quick, and just to clarify, and you can say whatever. I mean, that's your opinion. We're not alleging anything, of course. But I mean, and the weird part of it is that I talk to so many people. Hey, can I meet Suarez? Can I meet Suarez? And all this type of stuff. And it's like, dude, why? What other tech hub, figuratively, metaphorically, whatever, has had a mayor leading it? Like, it's insane. I'm not against, like in other words, why is politics involved in this? Why is a politician and his team leading this? It was different than like it's one thing to hey, we're going to be supportive, or an economic zone, or hey, I'll show up and make a speech, and I mean, okay, that's fine. But it's a different thing when it's like people felt like they needed to meet with Suarez. Like, what? Like, it's just bizarre. And I'll say this. I know you're not. I'm going to say this real quick, and I've said it before. There seemed to be this interweaving of tech and politics, right? And so, and I would see the articles. I knew what was coming. Well, I didn't know what was coming. I have no inside knowledge or anything like that. But it was I having been a student of the game and been in political and being a political expert, I kind of had a inclination that I wouldn't be surprised if we had Mayor Suarez running for president, and which we do or did. I don't know what's going on now, but I mean and so you'd see these articles like, oh, hey, higher aspirations, higher political office, and there's room, there's discussion. Well, where's that discussion coming from? And here's the thing, as I said before, you have these, you exactly what you said. You had these companies coming in, and these funds coming in, and your breathless coverage of Refresh Miami from someone that, I mean, like, how many people on Refresh Miami worked in VC firms? How many started companies? How many have degrees in technology? How many have MBAs or like that? You know what I mean? Like we have these people, we have this coverage, whatever. It's like, I don't want to get personal, and I don't want to get specific, but it's like, well, maybe I should, but I mean, I won't, but I'm not. And I'll say this. It was like, raising money. And it was like, all you're doing, and listen, California has huge problems, okay? And so there's a huge opportunity there. Let me slow down, because I'm saying a bunch of things at once, right? And so you had the opportunity politically to say, hey, okay, we're going to do something that's tech focused. We want to create opportunity here in Florida. Florida is open for business. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you, Governor DeSantis. Right, and if you want to join that bandwagon, Mayor Suarez and Miami County Mayor, that's fine. But instead of doing something different and going with that and saying, hey, we want to make it at least politically neutral instead of all this woke stuff. And I don't know if you want to comment or not, but I mean, almost everything I was seeing was woke this, diversity that, DEI this, climate change that, everything. I would see articles about how they were mad that Palantir was funding this conference, was a sponsor of this conference. We might want to boycott. What are you talking about? So now you don't want to hear from Peter Thiel, one of the most successful entrepreneurs and venture capitalists out there, part of the whole, PayPal legendary story. Are you insane? So now we're canceling. We don't even have a tech hub really rolling yet, and now you're trying to potentially cancel people and cancel firms and what are you doing? So it seemed not only that it wasn't open for conservatives or even moderates, or even politically, apolitical people that didn't care. It was like, no, you better be, towing the line and doing this woke stuff. And if you're conservative or moderate or whatever, don't pound sand, because you're getting no opportunity. And in my interaction with people, it kind of felt that way, right? And so at the same time, then you're talking about these rumors of higher aspirations for political office. That's incompatible, bro. And I told you that was not going to fly in the GOP side. And I don't know if the same people that are talking to Governor DeSantis or the people that were talking to Mayor Suarez, we're going to do the Jeb Bush thing here, the Marco Rubio thing. Okay, Marco Rubio of, years ago is not the Marco Rubio of today. Politically, I said that. I said this was not viable on the GOP side. It wasn't going to work. It's not viable. And politically, it was, and particularly in Florida. And we saw that in the midterm elections with the huge, the purple state has become red. We're seeing that in the polls right now. It just wasn't going to work, but these people weren't listening. So it was this weird mix of insiders and, hey, doesn't matter what you think or what you do, or if you're canceling people or whatever you're going to, or whatever, or if it's all about the woke stuff and conservatives need not apply, just bring the money. And then, as you said, traffic goes up, rent goes up. How many local people have been hired? And then on the political result, total bust, dude. I don't know that he's even being tracked by Real Clear Politics anymore. And when's the last that we've heard from Mayor Suarez about Miami Tech or politics or anything? I mean, it's been a little minute. So it's been like now, as you're saying, Umer, here we are. Here are the residents. I can only imagine, because at least I've moved around. I've done different things. But you are someone that's lived there. You know people that live there. You're fighting hard to be in the mix, and you've been successful. But how many people? If you're a Miami resident and you're dealing with the cost of living increase and the inflation, what has Miami Tech done for you? We've got a couple minutes, and I'll hold you over for the next segment.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, John. I mean, the issue is politicizing it, right? And I mean, I'm someone who just wants to get to work. I want to see real work being done, and working in tech. And specifically, I work in the AI and digital asset space, which tends to be, sort of like borderless and inclusive. So I'm Absolutely. Not sure that I have much experience pertaining to what you just mentioned about, certain people or maybe a certain group being locked out of things. But it doesn't surprise me one bit from what you've experienced. That's for sure.
Right, and it's unfortunate because again, look, I don't want to make it political, but I mean, I'll say this, and I've said my own things, and you speak for yourself. Politicians, in my opinion, should represent their constituents. And if your constituents, Miami voted for President Trump last time, and we're seeing this place more and more red. We're seeing a lot of people moving here that that vote Republican. We're seeing a lot of people that have fled socialist or communist setups in Cuba and Venezuela, Colombia, different places all over here you have at best. Florida is in different areas, purple. Most of it is red now. If you're touting this big tech hub and these big jobs and opportunity, and you're not making sure that it's, that's open for business for everyone and your constituents, that's not really smart from a political standpoint. And also, if you're these companies coming in and you're like, oh yeah, we're all for the local. What are you doing? Why are you locating over here? Are you really bringing opportunity, or are you just, like you said, or is it maybe just, hey, you just want an office on the beach, you want an office in Miami, you want a gateway to the Caribbean, Latin America, lower taxes? What is it? Let's tell the truth. What are we talking about here? Missed opportunity. We're here one with Umar Khan. We're talking technology. We're talking so much more. We're holding them over for the next break. You're listening to the John D. Villarreal Show here on Newstalk AM 1040 and live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Be right back at you. Okay, we're going to take about a 4 or 5 minute break here. So if you're seeing this later, or just hold on after that, we'll be picking up in about, like I said, about 4 or 5 minutes. Check the audio.
Tanya.
Probably about a minute here, and we'll be back live, a minute or two.
Gucci.
Okay, what's going on, Newstalk 1040am audience? It's me, John D. Villarreal. This is the John D. Villarreal Show. Hey, it's Monday. I guess we have a hurricane coming this way. We'll see what's happening on that. We'll talk about that, but we're talking about all kinds of stuff, technology right here, Newstalk 1040am, live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, everywhere from Sarasota, Wesley Chapel, Greater Tampa Bay, St. Pete, all over the place. We're joined by Umar Khan, who is big time in the technology space. We're talking about Miami Tech. We've been talking about, Mayor Suarez. We've been talking about the missed opportunity, how traffic's gone up, cost of living has gone up, rents, all kinds of stuff is through the roof here. And what are we doing about it? And Umar, I guess my point is this, and I've said it before. I think, there's two different things here, maybe three. On the one hand, politically, huge missed opportunity by Mayor Suarez. And I said, this is not going to work. It's not going to work out. And it kind of like, I would analogize it to, and it's a missed opportunity business-wise, and we'll get into that as well. And it's kind of like what Vivek was saying in the debate. He called the rest of them, quote unquote, super PAC puppets. And I love the way people are like, oh my, he can't say that. Okay, but it's okay for Chris Christie to say that he sounds like ChatGPT. What was that? That was bizarre. I thought that was, potentially questionable there. Okay. And just silly, right? I mean, first of all, and I'm not someone to get offended, and I don't want to go down that road, and I'm almost a free speech absolutist and everything like that. But we'll talk about that with Paul and the political stuff. But I'll just say this much. Dude, anybody who listens to Vivek, okay, can see how smart that dude is and how much horsepower he has. But Vivek's point of super PAC puppets, but my point is, so you could say that, and some people laud that as a potentially good line? What? But then when Vivek was talking about the rest of them might be super PAC puppets, oh, no, you can't say that. This is what I'm saying. When the voters now and the audience now is very, very smart. They can see and smell the sellouts. And so many people, unfortunately, I'm just telling you on that stage, I'm not trying to be a punk, way more successful than me. As I said, I'm nobody. I'm just, I'm happy to be here on Newstalk 1040am, of course, talking to the audience in the John D. Villarreal Show. I'm just someone, I just know a lot of things and I know a lot of people, okay? I've said that. So I'm nobody. I'm just a clown with a talk show. But it feels like they're sellouts. And that's how Miami Tech felt to me. In other words, that who cares what the voters think about the border? Who cares what? And then someone said this too. We're talking about climate change. We're talking about UFOs. What about inflation? What about the economy? What about the schools? What about all these types of things? And I'll say this real quick, and I don't want to, but that's on my mind. No matter what happens to Governor DeSantis in this election for president, my goodness, thank you, Governor DeSantis, for being such an amazing governor and giving parents the space, right, to connect with their kids and having Florida open for business. Best governor ever, okay? So that's a huge deal. And this is what I'm talking about. You can't have a situation where you're selling out your constituents to, get on the board of a defense contractor or pharma company or make the big donors happy or get on Fox News or MSNBC or whatever it is. People are tired. The voters are, particularly on the GOP side, are tired of being, quote unquote, sold out potentially, right? Over and over and over and over again. Now he fooled them again, guys. Why do you think Senator McConnell's, Leader McConnell's polls are in the basement? I've never seen polls like that. People are done with it, dude. It's over. And now you're doing this. And so you roll this into Miami Tech, and I'm bringing Umar back in. I'm saying this, he's not. You have a situation where it's like, hey, here comes another big money, big left-wing firm, this and that, whatever. Hey, are you Mayor Suarez? And this is totally fictitious. I'm making this up. This is a skit. This is a parody, everything like that. Hey, are you gonna on this hiring thing? Are they gonna hire conservatives? Who cares? How much money they have? And is it if you're a moderate, if you're not political, is that okay? Hey, whatever. Meanwhile, his team. I'm making all this up. It's a skit. Meanwhile, his team is like, oh, hey, woke. Look at this woke stuff. Right, Uber? I mean, dude, and they're taking selfies and they're having cafecino talk, everything like that. And it's like, dude, it feels so fake and so transactional.
So,
and then they wonder why it doesn't work.
Fake,
Go ahead,
right?
bring it. Come on in here. Save me from my bad
John.
skit. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's my issue, right? Is that I don't like fake news. Let's just go ahead and say it. I don't like fake news. And being someone who actually went through it and knows a lot of people in the tech scene down here. I mean, the meetups that I'm going to are guys that have worked on, Bitcoin Core. Like, I don't know, one of them might be Satoshi. I don't even know, but these guys are doing real work, and there's no mention of them. There's no mention of anything related to people who are actually doing real work. But every time I look up, I see another headline bragging and boasting about, XYZ hedge fund decided to open a small Miami Beach oceanfront office. Oh, my God. We're the next best thing since sliced bread.
It was all money and publicity. Money and publicity.
I'm going to be honest with you, John, is starting to aggravate me. Because I don't think it's fair and I don't think it's true. I don't think that that's what's happening here. And I go to Austin. I spend a lot of time in Texas. A lot of my clients are there. I know what a real tech hub looks like. I know what it looks like when real capital is being deployed. Right. There's real opportunities for, all types of founders in South Florida to gain access to funding. I haven't seen that. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And,
now, listen,
based on the headlines, you
you're doing
would
your
think,
thing, it's cool. But just, sorry. And I'll zip it. And I just want to be clear about this. If you're liberal and you're in tech and you've got your cause or whatever it is, or you've been in Miami forever and you've been working on stuff. I don't want to name names, but we know some people out there that have been, that have been in Miami, they're doing their things, and maybe they're a little left of center. That's fantastic. We have no issue with you. There's no issue with you. All we're saying is, hey, if you're going to do a tech hub in Miami, and then you're talking about politics, you're weaving that in, and it's being led by a mayor who's a Republican. Can't we just have this open for everyone? Can't we have one tech hub anywhere, somewhere? And this is what I'm going to try to do here. And I'd invite you to join in with Laura DeBell and some other people here in Sarasota. That's open for business for everybody. We don't care what your politics are. Maybe it's maybe we'll call it a little bit conservative friendly. I don't know, but I mean, and I'm not putting you on the spot right here when you're not talking politics. I am, but that's open for everyone. Can we just have one in America, maybe one in the world, just one, dude? I mean, that's all we're saying. I mean, and so when people see that and they see, oh, they're doing it again, another left-wing tech woke stuff, you know what? Maybe I don't want to do it here. Maybe I want to go to Dubai. Maybe I want to go to Singapore. Maybe I just want to do it with Belize. Maybe I want to go to Puerto Rico. I don't know, dude. But I mean, what could have been an answer turned into silliness. And meanwhile, how many jobs were created locally? How many people can afford their rent now? How many people are doing real stuff? And like you said, it was all crypto. Hey, how did FTX work out? It was publicity and money. And forget about everything else. And that's why when Vivek says super PAC puppets, it resonates with people. I don't want to. So go ahead. Tell me about the technology. What do you see is going on right here? What's the reality of Miami Tech from your perspective, and how can it get fixed? And how does it rate against other tech hubs? Zoomer, I'll shut up.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, and this is my opinion, right? I know that's something that I'm going to steal from you. This is my opinion. This is my personal view. I don't know. Like I said before, I just feel like it's very fake. I feel like it's very, let's see how many headlines we can grab. I don't know who's benefiting from it. I mean, like I said before, I don't know anyone who got hired at any of these places. That's the bottom line. And I know a lot of people down here. I was born here. I know people in Miami-Dade, Broward, West Palm. I know people in finance. I know people in tech. I work in the digital asset space, in the AI space. I don't know anyone who's getting hired by these people. And at the end of the day, it makes you question, like, okay, number one, when are you going to start telling the truth? And when are you going to stop pumping these headlines? I mean, anyone can pay for a publication, right?
Maybe if we just take another selfie,
what's actually being done to help my city? And I'm allowed to say that this is my city because I'm from here. I was born here.
You are. Yeah.
My father had businesses here. We are South Florida from day one, you know? And these guys, I don't even know how many of them have been here the entire time. Are they just riding the wave, or at what point are we going to say, hey, you know what, the hype stage is over, let's start making a difference, right? And I've seen some programs pop up at FIU and Miami-Dade College, and that's great. And I hope that continues. But at the end of the day, like, I feel like there's a false story being painted, and it's starting to bother me. Like why do this? Who's benefiting from this? That's the question, right?
There you go. Now we're on it.
Are you a super PAC puppet, or are you someone who's really trying to change the landscape for your city?
Okay, so let's name names, and I'll let you talk about this to the extent that you want to. You did mention Miami-Dade College, and I apologize if I might forget exactly how to pronounce the last name, but Madeline, the president over there, I think she's great. I think she's cool, and I like Miami-Dade College, and I think for a community college, they're doing pretty well. What's your take? We see, John Wensveen from Lavon Center. I mean, a lot of posts. A lot of talk about, like, it's one region, and because you're someone you got a master's degree from Nova. You had some interaction a little bit with Lavon Center. Like, what's your take of Wensveen and Nova and Lavon Center, and where do they fit into this? And we'll go on down the line.
Oh man, John, I've put.
You can dodge it if you want. I don't want to put you on the spot. You can dodge it if you want.
I've filled out the applications before.
Yeah.
I might have been consulting for some promising startup. Like, I stay active in the space, right?
I know you do.
Aside from what I do as my primary job, I love talking to founders and seeing how I can help them. So I'm constantly in contact with founders, and like I said, we've raised. I've got one who just got funded by AWS. I've got another one who just raised $25 million, and we were just on the phone with HSBC, with Saudi, with all over the place, right? And I've filled out the applications to some of these people that you've mentioned here in South Florida, and I got crickets in a response.
It's unreal.
Like,
it's unreal.
It's like, whoa, okay. I have something real. You do not have something real, and you're standing me up.
Dude, I felt the ghosting all over the place. They want to talk to me. Hey, write it on an email. Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing on the tour? What are you doing?
Man,
yeah, and then crickets. It's super crazy. It's super crazy. And the thing is when you talk about some of these programs, and again, you know, it could be anything. It could be FIU. It could be, you know, some of these accelerators, some of these venture studios. You know, it could be South Florida Tech Hub. It could be Fuel. You know, it could, you know, I mean, we were literally, and you tell me if this is true. We were seeing business plan competitions being held in nightclubs. Repeatedly.
Yep. That is true. That is true.
Tell me. Talk to me. Talk to me. How crazy is that? Only in Miami.
It's only in Miami. It's just the culture here. Everything's a party. Everything's a bar. And, you know, who's benefiting? Is this all just for the bar proceeds at conferences? Is that what's going on? Like, I feel like we need answers, man. You know, like, what's really happening here?
It's bizarre. And then Art Basel, you know,
everything. This started when, John? When did we meet? 2021, 2020?
Yes.
And they're still doing it. Still doing it. At this point, it's shameless.
Shameless,
you know?
Bro. Shame, because it's almost all falling apart. And this is, again, we want to be clear. This is no punk out of the founders out there, of the people trying to make it happen, of the people in VCs that have moved here, venture studios or whatever, meetups, it doesn't matter. But it was so much of it was write up, publicity, money, you know, happy hour. How many happy hours can you have, dude? And yet you have, right, bro. And you had this, and I don't want to put anyone on, you know, because you know, some of these people I know and you know, went to similar schools and stuff like that. But it was like, oh, this person over here, oh, we love you, you're great. But me, crickets, I'm like, bro, how many other people?
John, let's put it this way. If I'm building a tech hub,
right,
and someone like you, an OG with legal experience in Silicon Valley,
and venture capital experience,
say,
and startup experience, and national TV experience.
Yeah, right. My first response is going to be like, holy smokes, this is the type of guy I need in a leadership position because he's been there and done that.
You'd think so because my Rolodex is so deep. And listen, I have a record and a history. And again, we're not saying anything here. We're not making any claims, everything like that. I mean, my track record is insane. It's insane. And the thing of it is I've said, and I'll say it, you don't say it, is like, dude, I really believe if I was a sellout, if I was a liberal, or even if I was apolitical, I would have been potentially, in my opinion, it wouldn't surprise me, I'll phrase it that way, that I would be retired by now. And again, if I said that 5-7 years ago, let alone 10 years ago, oh, you're crazy. Now, look around you, player. Everybody understands what's going on. Look what's happening in the news. Look at the news today. Do you not understand that there's potentially a stacked deck, if you will? And again, I'm not talking about anything specific, no specific news sources. There's no conspiracies, no anything like that. But the point of it is that, we'll bring it back to Miami Tech. If you're a regular person, and this is just, again, I don't want anything misconstrued here. We're here on Newstalk 1040. If you're a regular person and you've been told, hey, just go to school, it'll work out for you. Take out $100,000 or $200,000 of loans, it'll work out for you. Hey, just work at the same company for 30, 40 years, you'll have a pension, it'll work out for you. Hey, follow the rules, do everything right, you know, don't ever, you know, do everything the right way, it'll work out for you. The average person looking around that has lived in Miami, that has maybe owned a house or rented and stuff like that, it's not working out for a lot of people. And then you see other people that can protest, that can, back in the, you know, years ago, they don't have to wear a mask if they're going out and protesting about this. But if you're talking about that, then you're in trouble. You know, and or their pension goes away, or other people they're getting, you know, promoted. Like, dude, you can't have a system. This goes back to the whole thing. You can't have a system where people can't get ahead, where you're doing the right things, it's not paying off. If you're rewarding the wrong things and you're penalizing the right things, it all falls apart. And that doesn't matter if we're talking about tech hubs or relationships that we have or anything else. And, you know, you have to, if you're a politician, you have to do right by your constituents. You have to try to help people out. And I'm not alleging that anyone's not. Similarly, if I've got a Lavon Center of Innovation or anywhere else, And my charge, and this is a public-private deal, and my charge is to help the people in this area and the students and everything like that. Well, then let's see some successes. I don't need to see a TED Talk. I don't need to see pictures on the cruise or anything like that. And these are all public figures. I'm not pointing anyone out specifically. I'm just saying generally, dude, when I was in Silicon Valley, I rolled up my sleeves and I was like you're doing, Umer, and I was helping founders and I was working really, really hard and I was getting things done. Nobody cared. I mean, dude, you know how many people that were liberal, they knew it was conservative, didn't care, dude. Let's get back to being real. So let's spin it positively.
Yes, please.
Let's spin it positively. If you're there, and we have a few minutes left here, we have about 3 minutes to the break. How, in your opinion, does this get fixed in Miami Tech? How can we make it real in Miami? Because we want to help people out. We want to make it real.
Oh, man. Honestly, John, I mean, I think it starts with the education, right? And I do see some good things happening there at the institutions that I mentioned previously, Miami-Dade College, FIU. You got to learn it first, right? And then once you learn it, you come up with this idea, and then you need capital, right?
Yeah.
So we need to establish that pipeline from, the kids who are learning stuff in college and, thinking of problems to solve in real life, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. How do we improve daily life, right? That's the purpose of technology.
Yes.
So, we start with the education. Hopefully that part of it is real. I can't say if it is or it isn't. I've just seen some programs pop up. And then from there, how many of these kids are going to have real access to capital? Because that's what it's going to take. How likely is it that some founder, some college kid at University of Miami or Florida International University, develops this prototype and needs a little capital injection to get to MVP, pre-seed money? How likely is it that he will be able to find that in Miami? And if you read the headlines only, oh my God, you would think that he can wake up and
everybody
open his front
instant.
door and there's going to be Citadel's going to be there to greet you with a $25 million check based on what's out there in the headlines. But the reality is, I don't see any of that. I don't see it happening. So until that happens, we need to humble ourselves. We need to say, hey, this is a work in progress. No, we're not. We're nowhere near the top tech hubs of the United States. Please stop saying that. We're nowhere near that. It's not even like conceivable how you can reach that conclusion that Miami is a top tech hub in the United States.
What about the capital of capital? What happened to that?
I guess it left with FTX.
Hey, listen, here's the thing. Like you said, my University of Miami is doing some pretty good things. They have a lot of work to do too, but they're kind of quiet. I think FIU, I'm seeing some decent stuff there, Miami-Dade College, but there's so much work to be done. And my point is, it's not left versus right. It's that exactly what you said, Umer. There's so much work to be done. There's so much hard work to be done. This stuff is really hard. Everybody needs to help out and come together, right? The Umer Khans, the John Villarreals, the Dr. Wensveens, the Peter Thiels, the Keith Boys, Mayor Swartz. Everybody needs to help out. And there should be a seat at the table for everyone, particularly people that have lived in Miami for a long time and have such history and commercial success as your family and others. And when it's a situation of hey, forget about when it feels like, right or wrong, that forget about the residents that are here. Let's bring in the billionaires and the hedge funds and let's all go party at the clubs and get on the yachts and stuff like that. Oh, traffic, forget about that. Oh, you can't get your kid into private school that you've been going to. Oh, forget about that. That's not good. It's no bueno. Talk to me. Close it out.
Man, John, you're the best, buddy. You're the best. I love it.
Thank you, brother. Listen, you're great, and I want to talk to you a lot. It looks like you've got some good things going on. Love that you get involved in. And I've got so much on my plate, but I am committed. I'm not fully committed, but I have the intention of starting a tech hub here in you know, the Sarasota area, just because we need something different. People need alternatives. So we want to see results. We want to see people. I want peace, love, freedom, opportunity, liberty, equality for everybody, and I think you believe in that as well. And there's a lot of work to be done, and technology is great. Yeah, it's exciting. And let's do it right, man. Let's give credit where credit's due. Let's do it right. I appreciate you, Umar. I appreciate you coming on here, brother. And it's good. You have a great week, and you know, God bless you and the family and everything like that. So I appreciate you, brother. Listen, this is the John D. Villarreal Show. Next hour, we're going to be talking with Paul Villarreal, probably at the bottom of the hour. Top of the hour, we're going to be joined, hopefully, by someone talking about the creator economy here, and that's going to be very exciting. I can't wait to hear that. So stay tuned on Newstalk 1040 AM. You're listening to John D. Villarreal Show here on Newstalk 1040 AM and live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Stay tuned. Be right back at you.
Your home for news, talk, and information. 1040 WHPO.
Hey, Brian, I'll get everything right here. We're about 5 minutes out. We'll pick up about 5:06. 5:06.
Okay.
I'm gonna step out for a second. I'll be right back about 5:03, 5:04.
For USA News.
Okay, we're about 2 minutes out here. So I'm going to get it ready. So just stand by. If you're watching this later, we're going to be joined by Brian Freeman here. He's fantastic. Can't wait to get into it. So hold on.
North south. Evening, then making landfall in Archer, Newstalk 10.
Attorneys,
Probably about 30 seconds out here for everyone. What's going on, Newstalk 1040am audience? It's me, John D. Villarreal here, everywhere from Sarasota, Wesley Chapel, Greater Tampa Bay area, Lakeland, Brandon, St. Pete, Clearwater, it doesn't matter, and live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. It's 5 o'clock, 5:06 over here at Newstalk 1040am on Monday. Hey, I guess we got a hurricane coming towards us. I don't know. It's going to get interesting. But right now, we've got someone with just unbelievable insight and access in this whole creator economy. Brian Freeman is joining us, the CEO of Creatorland, and this is awesome. I mean, I think if I've read this right, it's the LinkedIn for the creator economy. You posted something, Brian, here, and welcome to the John G. Villarreal radio show here, and LinkedIn show and everything, about how, I think you reposted it. You clarify this easily for me, but it was something to the effect, and I thought it was really interesting, that in the future, companies are going to hire internal creators, and they may be paid as much or more as CEOs, because what's moving the needle now for companies, and I've said this, and this is really one of my thesis of, John D. Villarreal, digital ventures, or even Super Genius Academy, things like that, that basically there is this opportunity and this melding of venture capital and growth hacking and acceleration and media and all these things. And you've got people in the creator economy that up till now haven't understood as much on the business venture capital space. And you've got people in the venture capital entrepreneurial space that don't understand media and what you can do with TikTok and what you can do with LinkedIn and or YouTube video or digital marketing. You're really at the tip of the spear here. Talk to the audience and tell us what you see out there.
Oh, all right. Well, thanks for having me, John. It's great to be here. Exciting. And it's fun that we met on LinkedIn, and I'm building the LinkedIn for the creator economy because
yes,
we need it, right? But yeah, I think what we're seeing is, I like to compare this to, when we were coming up, maybe in the 2000s, how did you get new customers? You got them through SEO. When TikTok came out at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, it started to really blow up. They introduced a new world. They introduced a world where you can become famous fast and you can get your message to millions of people quickly if you're entertaining. And so that has shifted where you get your customers, where you do fast iteration and messaging strategy, and what leads to the fastest conversion from traffic to buyers in an efficient way. And it's also empowered people to become entrepreneurs who maybe couldn't before, but they were great at social. And so that has shifted the landscape to being heavily in favor of people who are good at social, good at storytelling, and good at creating engaging content, even if that's for the purpose of driving sales. And this has disrupted massively the business landscape. That was, they were reliant on retargeting with Facebook, Instagram, YouTube type ads. But you can't do that because Apple changed in iOS 14, they changed the targeting rules. So, or if you were
Facebook has changed things as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and this is all due to data privacy laws and people wanting control over how their data is used. But it was a total apocalypse for people who were reliant on that type of targeting. So it's made creator-based marketing. So regular people who are great at storytelling, working on behalf of brands, speaking to their audience in the same way that you kind of talk to your audience, John.
Yes.
They know who you are and they listen for a reason, right?
Oh, absolutely. And full transparency, I want to talk to you offline. I mean, I love what you're doing, and maybe we can get connected on some stuff. There's no doubt about it. And I'll frame this a little bit, and I want you to keep going. So it's kind of like you said, that it used to be you'd have these people that were the growth hackers or SEO specialists. I remember talking to companies like, did you do SEO? Or they knew how to do Facebook targeted ads, but they were kind of like Wizard of Oz behind the curtain and stuff. Mm-hmm. Now you have to have that personality. People want authenticity. They don't want to be sold. They do, but they want to be sold in a different way. And being able to connect or tell a story is so powerful. And a lot of times if you go on Shark Tank, it's maybe not so much the investment, but it's the publicity and the exposure that you get, right? And so that's why things are being able to break through. So I guess, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, but maybe explain to our audience, why do you think that things are working like this right now? Is it that what people want to be entertained and it's great storytellers and entertainers, or is it that people want authenticity and people want that user-generated content? Like, why are we here? Why is this working now?
So, first, the reason SEO used to work so well was because that's where everybody started the day on the internet. That's not what happens now. The first thing for a lot of people, the first thing they do when they wake up is to start their day. I don't know, they hop into Instagram Reels or they hop into TikTok and they see their curated entertainment feed that's a little bit news, a little bit fun, a little bit ease into, and people are doing that all day long. And the discovery pathway for new products that you buy or new information that you get has heavily shifted away from traditional news platforms or places around the web or Google. It's coming from what you're passively seeing and being entertained by on social. That's where everybody's spending the majority of their time on the internet.
So different customer journey now.
Different customer journey. It's not, I'm searching for a lamp. It's that I saw a very cool video of how an interior designer used a lamp that fits my home layout. And I'm like, I got to go buy that. So it's a combo of authenticity and entertainment, but it's about mastering the format for where people are being inspired to make purchasing decisions. And that's why this creator thing has taken off so much, is those were the people who built those social platforms. It came from those people who were great at it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is so fascinating, man. I love this. I mean, I hope we have you on a lot more times because I can already tell that you're a great guest, and I love this whole space, obviously. So let's say this, let's put myself in, we're live on LinkedIn, of course. Let's put myself in a business owner's standpoint. If I've got a company, maybe it's an auto dealership, I know that space really well, or I've got 10 pizzerias around here in Sarasota, or whatever it is, right? Or a fancy restaurant, I'm the Ritz. Do I need someone internally that can continue to generate this content and be the face of the brand or get that brand messaging out? Or do I hire maybe through you or some other places, in influencers, or do I do influencer marketing? Like what's the right way if I don't know anything, how do I get started and how do I move the needle?
Yeah, I mean, like any marketing strategy, it's going to come down to goals, and it's going to come down to like what, if you're a local pizza, you got 10 local restaurants in your pizza, group, then you're probably going to want somebody in-house. That might be a savvy college student or young person who's very familiar with this format and can just like create something interesting in your locations and make the brand and the people behind the brand and the people in the restaurants more relatable. I'm crafting a strategy for this pizza thing right now,
Yes.
Or you've seen like maybe it's a local car dealership, and it might be somebody internal there too, because you need to be on the lot. You need to be capturing the funny salesman conversations. You need to be like building some kind of, think of it like a social mascot for this car dealership.
A connection, bringing the dealership to the people. How do I connect with someone? Hey, I'm scared to go to dealerships, but I know John. I want to go talk to John. Or I want to go talk to Brian. Or I just saw this, one of my neighbors or one of my friends or someone relatable that they just bought a car and it looked good. So now I have a way to access. I break down the barrier, right? I've broken the ice with that company. And I explain this too, because I think this is important, because a lot of times, business owners that, they hear the marketing talk and their eyes glaze over and they're like, oh, before it was, everyone told me I had to be on Facebook. Now they're telling me I have to be on TikTok. And then they told me I had to be on Instagram. And you hear all these buzzworthy super success stories. And obviously those are the outliers. But I think that people have to embrace that this isn't just doing one hot Super Bowl ad. These are concerted campaigns, right? You have to push the chips in here and say, hey, I'm going to run this for 2, 3, 4 months. I'm going to work on these I'm going to have a social media calendar. Well, I don't want to speak for you. Just tell me how you would explain that.
Well, I mean, we're doing this for Creatorland now. So this is an always on type strategy. It's, you might run a campaign if you're a consumer brand and you're selling your fall line at the end of the summer, or you're trying to move inventory with a discount. That could be hiring a creator who's a good fit for your brand to make a piece of content that they don't even post, but it's something that you use in ads that you push out to, and you put paid media behind on social. If you're a car dealership, then I probably I would have an always on strategy, and then I would put campaign messaging out there around specific stuff, but keep it entertaining. And I'd put paid media behind that, because then you can target locally. It's hard to target locally with it just generally doesn't work. You can't build a local social following that's large. It just doesn't happen. But you can make it more exciting for locals to be engaging with your local brand if you have a large social presence, because someone might come in because they saw you on TikTok and they were local, and that's how social works. It tends to show people more things from people from nearby, from where the source came from. It's just how these big systems work. But then you come in, hey, maybe I get to be in the TikTok. Maybe I'm the customer that bought the Jeep that gets to be, turned into something funny and an internet sensation for a moment, because that dealership has 150,000 followers. I'm really locked into the dealership because that's a hard one, but it's totally doable.
It is
totally doable.
And then you do an email blast and say, hey, here, or you do a monthly newsletter. There's so many different things. And that's what people have to understand, is that you have to wrap these things together. You have to continue the story. Like, the story just doesn't end. And if you're doing LinkedIn, it doesn't end there. You bring it onto the radio. You bring it into an email. You bring it into the store. You have these continuing stories, and this immersion into your own little, branding universe. But I mean, I love that. This is so fascinating, but I don't want to be remiss. I mean, how did you start Creatorland? Like, tell the audience about your background and how you got to this spot.
Yeah, so I've now been in what we call the creator economy for almost 10 years. I actually pivoted a different company because we saw what we call nano influencers now working really well for promoting that.
Yes.
And I thought,
oh, did we lose you there? Are you back? Brian, we may have lost Brian. I think I'm seeing something. Are you coming back there? I think is your audience okay? Your audio is okay? We have a little bit of technical things. Are you back, Brian?
Am I back now?
You are. Go ahead. So you said you pivoted.
Pivoted a previous startup where we saw regular people posting on social media being the best growth pathway that we could use. And that company didn't end up working out, but instead we started a solution that let regular people post for brands. That became very popular. And we grew that over 5 or 6 years. So I got very familiar with this space. And what I saw was that it's very transactional. As a creator, you're very dependent on email as the only way that you get new opportunities. You tend to get hired once and then just wait around for the next thing. Typically, creators do not use professional social networks, so they don't use LinkedIn.
Right.
And their Instagram account with 150,000 followers is not a professional network. That's their audience and fans. Now, maybe there's people in there who could hire them, but how do they tell the difference? And how many people do they actually know who could, through an introduction or through you reaching out and going, oh, I didn't know you worked with that person in the past. I'd love to connect with them. I have a great idea for what they're trying to do, whatever. That's the 6 degrees of separation that doesn't exist for people like you and me who are able to meet up and do this podcast and do this show. We don't have that problem anymore because we have LinkedIn. But the creator economy does, because they don't use a professional network, and they're all in different places, and they're very reliant on their own personal networks in order to grow their career, or just wait for that magic email to show up and help them get a deal. And that's not a great way to grow an ecosystem. And so that's where the idea for Careerland came from. Is I love LinkedIn. It's been a huge boost to my own career.
Definitely.
And I wanted to translate that type of opportunity to these people who are working so hard to grow their careers in social.
So if I'm a creator, I would come to you, I would join Creatorland, and now I have access to, it's almost like a mini agency or something, like you're going to be able to get me and connected, hopefully, with some different opportunities.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, we got to think back to the beginning of LinkedIn.
Okay.
In the beginning of LinkedIn, their goal was to monetize 6 degrees of separation. And so our goal at Careerland to start is to give you a platform to celebrate your wins through a resume that's integrated into social, that thinks about what those wins look like. You can't do that on LinkedIn right now. And so we're integrated into the major APIs for those different social platforms. You can quickly tag your content. And then we help you find the people who you should know in the creator economy. You can sync your contacts. We help identify the ones who are working in the creator economy, help you quickly build that network. And then we refer you to other people who are doing hiring, or who are other creators that are like you or similar to you in some way, and help you go from, well, I only know a few people in my hometown who do this, to knowing hundreds of people around the world who are hiring for people like you, and who are people like you who've done other types of work that you could benefit from knowing.
That's awesome. Now let's flip it around in a different way. Let's say again that, I'm a local business owner, who knows, or even a bigger, medium-sized business. How would I go about, how would I think about this? How easy is it to hire a creator, and how much should I be spending? And what are these campaigns? How would I get started, and what should I expect, I guess?
Yeah, the main way that a lot of companies are finding creators to work with today is through working with PR firms or agencies that handle influencer marketing. But that can be very challenging if you're just getting started as a company in this space. The budgets can be quite high. And so we see people doing, without a solution like Careerland today, is just going on social media, scrolling until they see somebody that they like, and then maybe emailing them if they've got a link in their bio. We have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of creator profiles on Creatorland. You can look up, and we help recommend to you the different types of content categories and collab types that people have associated with. And then you reach out to them for a connection, maybe add a message, say what you're looking to do, and then see if they get back to you, and then negotiate from there. When it comes to pricing, that's a complex thing, and it kind of comes down to what you're looking to do. And so our goal is to create some education around what that could look like, but it kind of comes down to you and the creator. And there are some resources out there that can help with guiding you on pricing, but it changes around the ask, size of the creator, lots of different things.
What should I expect? I mean, I've seen different things out there with it. Obviously, it depends on the platform as well, but should I expect an ROI of on average 3x, 5x, 7x? If I'm doing something, let's say my budget's, I'm going to start with $10,000. Where would I start, and what should I expect? What are the better platforms for me?
So I hate to say this, but it depends, right?
Sure.
So if you came to me and said, hey, I can spend $10,000 this year, I want to know what I should do on social. I would ask you, okay, what's your main goal? Are you trying to drive sales? Are you trying to drive signups for a website? Help me understand the goal. And then I would go, okay, the first thing is to let's start to test. Let's find some creators who have an interest in the type of content that you think matches your buyer. Are you a car dealership? Tell me about who buys your cars. If you're a pizza restaurant, tell me who buys your pizzas. Are you family oriented? Are you late night open? Are you mostly delivery because you got no retail footprint? Help me understand your customer. And then let's think about what kind of creators match that customer. And then do you have anything unique about your brand going for you at all today? Is it totally generic? Probably not. There's probably something special that you're using as your go-to slogan and your brand, bullet points of what makes you special. And then let's try and think about, what type of creators match that. Let's build a keyword list. Let's start searching social or Creatorland for creators that match those keywords. Then start saying, hey, I'm trying to make some content for my brand. What do you think I could do?
That's amazing. I love that. And, find your audience basically and understand what your differentiators are. And I don't want to necessarily drag you into this, but it'd be great to get your insights if you want to share, and you don't have to. Sure. But, we're here on Newstalk 1040 AM, obviously, and we've seen things that have happened with, where do you think the move is between, you look at Tucker, he left Fox News, and now he's doing huge numbers, right? And there's different discussions of how many people really watch, but whatever it is, it's a lot. What do you think about what's going on with X? Where do you think, online people like mega influencers like Tucker or Patrick Bet-David or Joe Rogan versus TV? I mean, how much of a force is TV going to be in 5 years? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I saw some stuff this morning where somebody was saying they think that TV as an advertising channel will be dead in a decade. I don't think that's hard to believe. I think when we look at, I have a 2-year-old, so he isn't doing this yet. But when I think about the devices he's growing up with, when sometimes we got to give him the phone because we got to have a conversation at dinner or something.
Yeah.
So that was
a 6-year-old. I get it.
Yeah. Right. Like, so their relationship with the way they consume entertainment is just totally disconnected from it being TV based. It's the phone, it's the iPad, it's whatever they've got nearby, whatever's in their hand that's moving into gaming devices is the same way. I think TV's got a real problem on its hands because I think it's going to be a great destination, high class entertainment solution for what we see coming out of Apple TV Plus, Paramount, Peacock. These are high profile, high resolution, big budget shows. That's what we want out of our TV experience, I think, in the future.
Streaming over the top. Okay. But big budget.
You don't see a lot of ads in that space. I mean, it's just where you see that is in the place where you spend more time, which is social. And that's a place where you expect to see advertising content. And that's what consumers tend to go to. Where you expect ad content is where you're the most receptive to it, which drives the most ROI. I think TV's got a real big problem. But I do think
it's well said.
We're seeing an emergence of celebrities from places that wouldn't necessarily be celebrities in the past, and they're building their own brands. Yes. And they're figuring out how to tell stories, and they're doing that through social. But I think it will parlay into where they are on TV as well, like a golf pro or a basketball pro or MLB player who doesn't have a brand today, but they make their own brand around themselves. That starts to make its way on the field, and then
Deion Sanders.
Deion Sanders, great example. Yeah.
So let's talk about this very quickly here. We got about a minute or two left. And again, if you don't want to touch it, it's okay. I mean, how much do you think that moves in the political space too? I'm thinking about like an AOC. I'm thinking about Robert Kennedy Jr. with the shirtless workout at Venice Beach, and that went viral. Or Vivek Ramaswamy with the Eminem rapping and stuff like that. Do you think that that's kind of cheesy political stuff, or do you think that that's different, new, and salient going forward?
I think it's critical going forward.
I agree.
If I was to be hired by any political candidate, I'd say if you have any interest at all in the under 50 vote, you care a lot about social. You care about being accessible. You're not just all proselytization every day. It's about building a relationship with your audience that humanizes you, but also knows where you stand. And that involves things like the shirtless workout because it gets distribution, it gets your name out there, it gets people paying attention, it gets people curious. And it also makes it so that in an argument between two people who are talking about candidates, they go, look, I don't know why I like them. I just like them.
I love it. Brian, where can people find you? What's up with Creatorland?
So Creatorland is in its private beta right now. We'll be opening up early next year. But so look me up on LinkedIn, Brian M. Freeman on LinkedIn. Happy
I love it. You're fantastic. Love to have you back. Have a great week, brother. Appreciate you joining the show. Hey, you're listening to the John D. Villarreal Show here on Newstalk 1040 AM. Back after the break, we're going to have Paul at Villarreal. We're going to talk politics. We're going to talk debate. Everything else, we'll be right back at you. Great job, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a blast. Happy to do it. Happy to come back too. Thanks,
Definitely.
John.
Definitely.
All right. Have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Talk to you soon.
Okay, we'll take about a 5-minute break here. We'll be back right around 5:35, 5:36. Talking politics, wrapping up the show, all that type of stuff. Stay tuned. Okay, we're about a minute out here. What's going on? It's me, John D. Villarreal. Final segment here on Monday on Newstalk 1040 AM, live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And we've been talking about a lot of stuff. We've been joined by some great guests. Umar Khan in the first hour talking about Miami Tech. And then we just had Brian Freeman on from Creatorland, CEO of Creatorland, talking about all kinds of stuff with the creator economy, social media, marketing, everything like that. Hey, we're here on Newstalk 1040 AM, Sarasota, Tampa Bay, all over the place, Lakeland, Plant City, St. Pete, Clearwater, Tarpon Springs, all of this stuff. And you know what? I would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about politics. We're going to be joined by Paul Villarreal right now talking about this debate. Paul, unbelievable. I had the reaction, talking about the debate where we both did. And I think we laid it out there. But let's bring it up to speed here on the Newstalk 1040 audience. Give me a sense, where are we at with this race right now in terms of the presidential side? There's a lot of news happening, a lot of stuff about trials and everything like that, a lot of stuff from the debate, who won, who lost. Break it down. Where are we at right now on Monday, August 28th?
Yeah, hey, John, what's going on? And let me just say, welcome to the 1040 audience. I hope everybody stays safe with the incoming tropical storm. Just wanted to say that.
I know.
Also, my connection...
No, go ahead. I was going to say real quick, but right now it's looks like Tropical Storm Idalia. It's looks like it's right on the western edge of or just passing or right very very close to the western edge of Cuba right there. It looks like it's taking a little bit of a northwardy time. And I'm not alleging anything. I'm not making any claims. Definitely you do your own diligence, check out stuff. But it looks from what I'm seeing right now, this is according to the NOAA site, right? I mean, it looks like we're about 70 miles an hour, and it should become a hurricane pretty soon here, Paul. So we'll see. I mean, Florida's used to it, no doubt about it. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I also want to tell you, I might be having a little bit of connection issue, so you can let me know with that. We'll see.
Fair enough.
I think I'm okay now. I just want to say something first before I comment on the political stuff. I just want to touch on something that Umar said in the first hour.
Go ahead.
Just my own perspective, because both of us have worked in venture capital in the tech scene, you much more than I have. But I know it. I know the game. I was in Silicon Valley. I did stuff. I've observed it. And I just want to say from an outsider's perspective, looking in at the Miami tech scene, what you guys said rings true. It just doesn't seem like it's really up to speed. It does seem like more hype than substance, and I think it's good that you talk to him more about, hey, how can we improve this? And I think the first thing to improve, he mentioned the educational structure, but people have to be aware that it's not where they want it to be. I think it's getting surpassed right now by both Tampa and Jacksonville. So, I mean, just from the outside looking in, I think you guys are right about it.
Well, I've said it for a long time. I mean, this is not about being trying to punk anyone out or flexing or sour grapes or anything like that. It's a matter of this stuff is very, very hard. It takes a lot of work, and it was almost like seeing the covers, like everything's a unicorn and all the funding and the money's raining and it was just craziness. And it was like, dude, this stuff is super hard, and it takes everybody to try to be successful. And I just think that for in so many ways, the focus, the emphasis, the models were just all wrong, and you just had a very much of a lack of understanding of people. No, I'm not saying I'm better than Peter Thiel or Keith Raboy or anyone like that. What I'm saying is, when you have people at that rarefied air, how many of those? I don't know. I'm just speculating. I mean, I remember having this conversation. I'll take it away from that. I remember when I was about to get involved in the venture, or I was already involved in the, or very, very close. Doesn't matter. And I was on the way. I'm not going to say who the name of the person was, but this person was a big hitter, big name person. And they were in the car with me, and we were driving because we were forming the fund for the Amtech Capital, the venture fund with Gil Abilio that I was in. I was a general partner in that fund. And they're like, and I didn't take it the wrong way, but he looked over at me And this is someone, well, I'll say this. This is someone that was involved in fund formation at Wilson Sonsini Conversion Versailles. Huge name. Had dealt with all the big funds, right? And he was like, no disrespect. Well, how are you going to be successful, John? And why you? In other words, like, okay, you're basically not that far out of law school. Like, why would anyone invest in you? And why would you do? I mean, I understood the gist of the question. And instead of like Kleiner Perkins or Sequoia, whatever like that. And I looked over and I'm like, I'm not going to say the name. I'm like, well, I don't pretend to have a better Rolodex or know more or whatever than John Doerr or Mike Moritz or all the, Don Valentine, all these big names. But how many of those people are going to spend 12 hours working on their company's PowerPoint, are going to spend a whole week? I mean, is John Doerr going to spend a whole week, building the MVP with his clients? Are they going to roll up the sleeves? Are they going to go? I mean, no, these people are hit a certain level and they're busy and, they're going to raise their next fund or they're flying off to Davos or they're going to talk to, President who, so-and-so, whatever. And listen, they're at a different level. It's a different thing. You have to understand where your competitive advantage is, and I made my mark, if you will, because I'm a super genius, and Paul, this, you were there with me. I'm very good at understanding where the market's going to be, future casting, seeing the future, if you will, 5, 10 years out, whatever it is. And that's why I'm so, and I'm very, that's why I'm so accurate, in my opinion, with my calls on a lot of stuff, political wise, this and that, whatever. I mean, if you look at the past shows, it's all rolled out. Look at what I said about Miami Tech 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 6 months ago. Same thing with the presidential race and stuff. And I'm also someone that can roll their sleeves up. I understand business. I understand media. I understand technology. You can find anyone in any given vertical that has maybe more depth, but it's almost impossible. It's super hard to find someone that has the range of elite experience in that zero to IPO space and has had the fortune of being around some super heavyweights that knows more than me. And so I don't have it all figured out. I've done some great things in my life and super successes, but I haven't reached the mountaintop yet. I appreciate being here on Newstalk 1040, AM and everything like that. But I think that's the difference. And then he's like, I see your point. Like, right. That's the thing. You have to understand what you're bringing to the table. If you're just me too, that doesn't matter. Then no, you don't. If I'm just a brand name and money, then why would you go to me instead of going to someone else? You wouldn't. I would want to go to Sequoia or Kleiner too. So you have to, and I've counseled a lot of VCs about that type of stuff over the years, because at a certain point, the VCs have the incentive to get bigger and bigger and bigger funds, because it just pays more management fees. You have more flexibility. You have more things you can do. Almost becoming like the SoftBanks. And SoftBanks, I'm like, there's a lot of things I like about SoftBanks. I have a lot of criticism of SoftBank, and I think that we're seeing some of the things that have worked out, how some of those investments have worked out and stuff like that. Now, granted, I'm not dissing anyone, because venture capital is a very, 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 in tech, it's a very, very tough game. But the true VCs, that's why a lot of VCs, I think it was Don Valentine, I may be wrong, had the saying that they wouldn't invest in anything they couldn't drive an hour or two. And some people like the Miami Tech scene and stuff like that, Paul, you got me going here, but this is really hopefully useful to people and dovetails off the Umer conversation. We're like, oh, California only wants to invest in California. Well, that's why. Because these people, you have to be able to have proximity. Now, and again, different people do different things, right? And so I understand it. But the thought process there by that VC, I believe, a super legendary VC, was I need to be close to my companies to be able to add value, not just be on the phone for a board meeting once every, whatever, and then I'm doing 10 other things while I'm doing it. You need to be able to be there and add value. VCs always used to be quote unquote smart money. I'll review the business plan. I have contacts. I have Rolodex. I have all types of stuff. Now, granted, Kleiner has their way of doing things. Sequoia has their way. I mean, again, every partner has their own way of doing it. They have phenomenal people, super successful. I love both those funds. They're phenomenal. Okay, and so I mean, and I said that in the car too. I mean, listen, John Doerr can pick up the phone and get things done within 30 seconds that I may never be able to do, right? In years. So there's different ways to approach it. There's different ways to add value. But I was able to do things, and I believe I am able to do things that other people can't or won't do. And that's the deal, you know. And I said, and I think I said it. Because I'm funny, right? I said, yeah, he can pick up the phone and make things happen that I could never happen. But guess what? He's got to pick up the phone. And this person was laughing. He's like, that's a good point. I'm like, right. That's it. And so anyway, yeah, I do appreciate that, Paul. I love that game. I want to get back in that game. I think there's a massive opportunity here. I think there's a massive opportunity we're going to try, and hopefully you'll be involved as well to get like a neutral, a political, an apolitical, or maybe even slightly conservative or moderate friendly tech hub, venture hub here in the Sarasota area. And we want everybody. We're cool with everybody. I mean, again, you look at Elon, Silicon Valley used to be libertarian. Like, okay, yeah, it was liberal, sort of, I mean, yeah, because Stanford, Berkeley, but Stanford used to be seen as conservative, no more, right? And San Francisco, but it was like people didn't care. It wasn't like that, dude. It was like, what are you building? What are you doing? Everyone from all over the world. And now it almost became like to wrap it back into politics. I want to talk about politics here, Paul. That tech almost became this political spoil system. That that was where the money went, and if you believe in then you could have these almost show up no show jobs almost, making $250,000, $100,000, $200,000, and hey, we're gonna protest this. We're gonna have a letter campaign and all this stuff. It became just silly, a caricature of itself, and a mockery of what technology and stuff. I mean, look at what Elon's bunk. And I know you're an expert in, or you've been following this very closely. I'll say that. With X, I mean, look at that. Look at how many people he was able to, how many people have been let go, and that in some ways the platform's still working really well. I mean, that's my criticism of it. It's not left, right. It's that a 50% solution is not a 100% solution. You can't tell half the country to pound sand. You can't tell 80% of your consumers, 70% of your consumers, 40% of your consumers to pound sand and think it's going to work out. And I just feel like that the tech industry, yeah, somewhat was left wing, but it became really captive to politics, Paul. And people were just seeing this as a spoil system. That hey, you had this rotating, revolving door between politics and tech, and people making tons of money. And I think that's what, I hope I'm explaining this correctly to the Newstalk 1040 audience. But that was what the problem is. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the bottom line, I thought that you mentioned Elon. I think Elon's one of the only people right now who's doing it the old school way and doing it well. And I think the bottom line is, just to cap this off, is that I agree with what Umar said, which is if you're in the Miami tech scene and you want to grow, then you should look for how to do things, and like what you're just saying, and look for people like yourself who know how to do it. I mean, if you want to get bigger and get better, right, you got to go with people who know how to do it. And
the real way, the sustainable way. That's right, the real way and the sustainable. Yeah. I appreciate that. Okay, let's switch gears. We got to get to the politics of. Tell me where we're at with this whole debate thing and GOP 2024. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, I'll do a quick wrap up here. I know we've got 10 minutes limits. Okay, the news that came down today, just to set that first, was the January 6th trial date was set today for President Trump in D.C. court for March 4th. That's one day before the Super Tuesday primaries. So as you might imagine, President Trump and his allies are not happy about that. And President Trump said on Truth Social he's going to seek to appeal that date. He's going to seek to change that date because he feels like that's interfering with the election. And I think that's fairly understandable why he feels that way. Okay, going back to the debate, the consensus that I saw was that people felt like Vivek won the debate.
Definitely.
Now, there's a couple of things. Yeah, go ahead.
So I was gonna say, I think he definitely won the debate. I mean, and then someone made a comment. Oh, his teeth looked, like he got white. Dude, the dude was cool. He looked great. He looked healthy. He was having fun. He was laughing. You could just tell. I'm not trying to be a punk. I'm really not. Everyone on the stage is accomplished. Everyone on the stage is more successful than me. All of this. I mean, I think we've got a billionaire there, and everything. I'm not trying to be a punk, but man, to me. For a political novice, the rookie, as Mike Pence tried to do. I mean, and again, I feel like Mike Pence is trying out for some weird, extra on Bonanza or something like that. It's just very weird the way he comes off, and it seems so faked and so forced. But Vivek comes off as just so much more intelligent and real and honest and engaged. And I mean, when he says super PAC puppets, you see it. It comes alive on the stage. I'm not alleging anything, but it's a good line because in my opinion, it feels that there may be something, let me put it another way. Let me revise and extend. That line resonates with me, in my opinion. Go ahead.
Look, I agree with people. I thought Vivek won. Some people felt Haley did well. Some thought DeSantis did decently well, but I don't think anybody feels like he really shifted the momentum. And listening to somebody, a pollster that I respect very much on Twitter, basically said, look, unfortunately for him, the thing that people are going to remember from that debate about DeSantis is when he meekly raised his hand.
Oh, the hand raise was terrible.
Trump.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. And here's the thing about Haley, and I'll push back on the Haley thing. Oh, Haley won. Dude, why? Because she had this interchange with Vivek? I mean, are we having a contest of who can speak the loudest, who talks over who, or she stood up to him, or okay, here's why I push back on that. It's no diss on Governor Haley. She's obviously smart. She's obviously experienced. She knows the foreign policy stuff. Great. I thought Vivek's line to her about, are you going to be on the board of Raytheon or defense contractor? You came off the board of Boeing or something like that. I think that was very cutting. It's not so much about, to me, it's not about these moments and the one-liners and who talked over who. It's do you come away, here's the test, in my opinion. Do you come away from that debate saying, hey, I want to vote for Governor Haley? If yes, then why? What policies? How does that going to have, in other words, what is the staying power? How does that move Governor Haley's campaign? Do we have a bunch of people on the Republican side saying, "Yeah, we want to fund more we want to back all the policies that Governor Haley was talking about"? I don't think so. So whether she got a moment or talked over Vivek or that exchange, or she seemed tough or she seemed smart, yeah, she's smart, great. But is anyone lining up? What significant majority of Republican voters are lining up behind her policies? And how are her policies significantly different than what Mike Pence was saying, what Chris Christie was saying, what Senator Scott's saying? It's just not. And that's the problem. Or Governor DeSantis. And how do you have a Governor DeSantis and some of these people, Governor DeSantis did well and Nikki Haley did well? How does that happen? Because I'm going to just tell you right now, it's all Trump. And then you got a bungee jump all the way down. And then you got Vivek. And they're all going after Vivek. Why? Because he's the number 2 threat. He's the real threat. They have to take out Vivek to be there. And then you're fighting for third or second. This whole debate was fighting for third or second. So you cannot have 2 winners out of, as Vivek would say, the quote unquote super PAC puppets. It doesn't make sense logically. Does that make sense, Paul?
Yeah, it makes total sense. Look, I agree with what you said earlier in the show, which is Vivek's super talented. Everybody knows that. He's got a bright future no matter what happens. I don't think he's going to be the nominee or even the VP nominee now, but he's got a lot to offer, and everybody knows that. And as you said, the people on the debate stage knew that, which is why they were coming at him. Now, just to cover quickly, the most important things that happened in this last week since we were last on were the the first thing was Trump doing the interview with Tucker, which was counter-programming to the debate. In other words, they dropped this on X, Twitter, at like 5 minutes before the debate came on. That video ended up getting over 250 million views. Now, that's not the same thing as, that's impressions of the tweet. That's not necessarily views, but it's still overwhelming. I mean, that might be the most viewed tweet ever. That was massive success for President Trump and a huge success. The second thing that happened was the day following that, he went down to turn himself in at the Fulton County Jail in Atlanta, and he got the mugshot done. That mugshot, which I guess was supposed to humiliate him or whatever, it became this iconic thing that's just blowing up on the internet. And I mean, people love it, and I've seen more outpouring of support for Trump in the last week from minority communities than I've ever seen. It's almost like now they just, I don't know, it's like he's got more street cred or something. I don't know how to say it.
No, he's doing great, and we're going to talk about that, and that goes back to a little bit, and again, I'm not bringing him in the political thing, but Brian Freeman and I were talking about Creatorland, we're talking about, how important social media is now, and the themes and the memes, and how the conversation's there, and that I think that perfectly encapsulates that kind of an example of that kind of thing. I'll say this very quickly, and I had a whole thing, and I was going to write it down, but I thought when I was working out, I'm like, hey, this is how Governor DeSantis kind of can really start trying to pull a win out of this and do. I'm not saying beat Trump. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that can happen at this point. I mean, anything can happen, but that's just not likely. But I remember a snippet of it now, and I may have to do another show, a live stream later, or we'll pick it up next week on Newstalk 1040am. And that is this. There's some of these things are just tuning. And again, I'm not giving any campaign advice. I'm just a talk show host. I'm just my opinion. And some of these are just tuning, and like someone said, like, yeah, I think this is on either Laura Ingraham or it was on Megyn Kelly. Like, yeah, he did great with COVID, but that's over now. People don't want to think about that. That's like a bad memory. And I disagree in this respect because, yeah, when you talk about Fauci and all that, like Fauci is a president, I'm better than President Trump. I don't think that's going to work. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You do not go after President Trump. That's not what's going to work. You look at what Vivek's doing. You can be positive. You can run and not be adversarial to Trump. Being adversarial to Trump will crush you with the MAGA voters. That's bad. But here's just one example of how you can twist and tune this and how it could be so much better, right? You tell me how you feel about this, Paul, real quick. We got 2 minutes. It's like, okay, instead of talking about Fauciism and you're better than Trump, how about you say, hey, you saw what I did with COVID. You saw the leadership I took. You saw how that was difficult. You saw how I stood up for you and your families and made sure you had a stake in your child's education, made sure that your business was still open for business, whether you're a restaurateur, this and that, whatever, give examples, different stuff like that. And that stuff, it's still, even though we don't want to go back to COVID, that's still going on today. Look at Justin Trudeau in Canada. Look at what the Democrats are doing to you. Look at how they're trying to do X, Y, and Z. Look at the rights they're trying to take from you, whatever like that. That's the message. Okay, that you're fighting for families, that you're fighting for the Constitution, freedom, peace, love, opportunity, equality for everyone, that you're fighting for small businesses, that you're fighting for the Floridians and for Americans. You turn that message, you tune it, because the same thing with COVID is still going on. Some people would say today with all this stuff against Trump, with cancel culture, with woke and everything like that. So in other words, you turn it a bit, you tune it away from just the left, right, the political stuff and the culture wars into, giving people freedoms, opportunity, open for business. They open for business. Florida open for business. The parents still being parents. The parents still being involved in kids. Schools teaching education. That's the tune. I can't perfectly lay this out in 2 minutes. I haven't written it down. But I was in. This is what I'm talking about. Being a super genius. I was in the gym and I was working. I'm like, that's what he's got to do. That's the tune. What do you think of that, Paul?
I agree. And look, to be honest with you, the people who are doing that kind of broad appeal are Trump and RFK Jr. And that's why they're getting the
Trump, RFK Jr. and Vivek. Hey, listen, appreciate you, Paul. You're the best. Appreciate my guest, Brian Freeman, Umar Khan. Love the 1040 people up there, the staff, everyone like that. Appreciate you the Newstalk 1040 AM audience out there all around the greater Tampa area and live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, the John D. Villarreal Show. Have a beautiful week, but stay safe out there, everyone. Stay safe out there, and I will see you next week. Be blessed.